which is just down that hall right there. And I am a data reporter for them. I've been with them since, it's been June or July, full-time, and interned last summer and last fall, then hung around part-time in January, and June, July, got full-time. And I mean, my path there has been a series of very fortunate opportunities and chances to pick up a lot of this, knowledge about how to manipulate data and how to work with it and tell stories with it. I went to University of Texas. I was a multimedia journalism student in the communication school, and I did not go to UT thinking that was what I was going to do. I actually enrolled in 2006 as a chemical engineer, and immediately dropped that during orientation. Didn't even take a single class because I realized I did not want to do calculus for the rest of my life like that. And then I just kind of hovered around undeclared for a while, and I think it was the beginning of junior year I got accepted in journalism and just ended up at the LA Texan, and ended up meeting Matt Stiles, who's now at NPR, who came and spoke to one of our classes and said he needed an intern, and he likes that I'm a person who carries around little Mac adapters for projectors, so yeah, that's how he tells the story. He's like, he had 40 of them. I had one, but he kind of mentioned at the end I needed an intern, and I got him down the hall and said, hey, let's talk, and ended up working out really well. I kind of already went into this, but I am now at the Texas Tribune. If you don't know, Texas Tribune is a nonprofit, nonpartisan news organization based here in Austin. And we primarily cover politics, statewide politics. A big part of what we do, and a big part of what I do, is the data work. Our database is our public salary database. We have a public school database now that has enrollment numbers, test scores for every school and district in the state. And not afraid to say this at all, data has been a big part of our success. It's consistently been our highest drawing thing. If you look at it based on analytics hits, the salary database is still almost every day the top visited thing that we have on the site. It's also the top one that we're most vocal about with their opinions of how we have it and what we have on there. That's also, so if you ever want to complain to that ends up in my hands. So I'm also the person that needs to maintain that. So the agenda for the evening, talk a little bit about data journalism. We're going to go through a short discussion just kind of on databases. Involves a little game we want to play to kind of lead into talking about fusion tables, and then I'm just going to go through some of the examples of some of the stuff we've done in the Tribune. So what is data journalism? Again, I'll give credit where it's due. I blatantly steal this part from Matt Stiles in his presentation. But it's essentially using data to tell or enhance stories that in a lot of cases we've already been telling. But now with the growing accessibility to the web, growing accessibility of tools that let you interact with data and visualize data, in a lot of ways it's a relatively easy way to add a lot of extra flourishes to your story that can also help tell the story better. It's a big part of moving away from just going he said, she said, just going and talking to a talking head, reporting what they said. They said this statistic, you go okay, and then you write it down. Now with thanks to things such as the Public Information Act and the tools that we can use to manipulate them and to work with them, it's now instead of saying, well, this statistic, okay, we'll go with that. We can now get the data that they're citing, and we can prove it. We can actually test it and see, okay, well, this is your number. Okay, well, we understand where you got this job percentage, but you're kind of shifting it this way or this way in favor of the objective that you have going with. Tools. I, for the most part, use a lot of standard data manipulation tools. I use Access, I use Excel, use Google Docs every once in a while, especially for I'm interacting with other reporters that we're kind of sharing data and working with it. ArcGIS, QGIS, depending on how angry I'm at ArcGIS that day. And Google Fusion Tables are the main mapping tools we have. Other data reporter with me, Beck Erickson, she's also we're about even on that. We both use all these tools to get to do the stories that we do. The Texas Public Information Act, which I think deserves its own row in the tools list, because so much of what we get is through making requests to government agencies and getting this information. Fortunately, in Texas, Texas has a lot of things it's known for, and one of them is a very, very nice Public Information Act. So one of the more reporter-friendly ones in the United States. And so I highly recommend you take advantage of that. Many things, the best way I explain it is, if you ever see these typical groups that will attack one another on, quoting statistics, the best thing to look at on those little press releases that they send you and say, can you write about this, is look at their source. Because a lot of times they use a government source to get that data, and you might not be quoting from their press release, but you can go and find out where they got the information and see what they found. And the internet, Google, searching online. A big part of my day is knowing what I want to do, not knowing how to do it, and seeing other people who do know. That's at UT, great journalism education, but not so much in terms of data work and working with visualizations. And so a lot of what I picked up was through finding the people that knew how to do it, what I wanted to do or what I needed to do, or just kind of looking it up, looking at like Stack Overflow. I picked up a big part of the JavaScript knowledge that I have just looking at other people who didn't know how to do something and just searching for it. So we're going to be focusing on Google Fusion Tables for a big part of this. Again, I will fully admit that I did not make that slide. I pulled it from a Google presentation the one that they gave on Fusion Tables. But kind of explain what Fusion Tables is. It's, I can read that for you, data management system in the cloud. And in a lot of ways, Fusion Tables, what is the power of it is that in its basic sense is nothing more than just a database. It's another place you can upload data. The advantage is that it comes with all the built-in hooks to Google services. So the Google Charts API, which is how you can make interactive charts, like bar charts and pie charts and stuff like that. The Google Maps API, which is the big part of what I do, and a lot of the most impressive stuff that came out of Fusion Tables is with the Google Maps API and overlaying data onto Google Maps. And so, it's a lot of things that you do with Fusion Tables are actually possible with, if you wanted to use a MySQL database or use a Postgres and with the GIS hooks included. But the benefit of Google Fusion Tables is it's there for now. It's free to use. Some of that may be, potentially shifting a little bit depending on how the changes to the Google Maps API go. But for most people, it's a very easy way, very easy entry point into doing these sort of visualizations. Game time. So the forms that I had you all fill out, for some of you this may be a very simple thing, and like I said, you may have already picked up on what we're trying to do. But what I'm going to have you do is, as you see in the line, tear them in half. And if you could, pass the food one to this side, your name one to this side of your row.
If I'm on the end?
Huh?
If I'm on the end of the row?
Then you're the collector.
Oh, gotcha. Sorry. Which way? Show which way?
Yes. Food this way, name that way.
On the name.
Yeah. It would not be the end of the world if it doesn't. Not exactly.
Names.
Names.
Foods.
Names.
Foods.
What are some foods?
Foods.
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 Food?
Foods.
Foods.
Names. Foods. Names. Names. Foods. I'm sure they're mixed up.
Complicate this at all. Thank you.
That's food.
It's food. All right. So, the point of this here, so with Fusion Tables, like I said, it's nothing more really than a database. And a big part of what a lot of us do with it, and a lot of the, I guess, taking it beyond just uploading data that has lat longs or has an address that you geocode is being able to take these massive sets of data and being able to merge them. So, very, very basic database example. We have this here, foods, we have this here, name. Over separate here, we don't know which one corresponds to the other. I have this pretty much is to me a list of foods. This is just a list of names. But in this case, with this here, you notice I included the numbers on top of them. For this, it's like a unique identifier for it. So I know, as we just did it, I know that whoever likes, I don't know what that is, whoever likes queso was given the identifier of 17. That's their identifier, that's their relation to the other one. So, see how lucky I'll be to find a quick 17
It's
here.
me.
It's you. You like queso? Who doesn't? So yeah, as you can see, Christian 17, I know these two go together. So for very drawn out way of showing that, but fusion tables, the way you can join things, the way you can merge things, it's the same concept. Sometimes you'll have data that has zip codes, or for example here you'll have cities, city lat longs, and you have the city name, and that's all you have, city name and lat longs, and then you have a set of data that's the city names and population. And the same concept that's used here in terms of joining them, city name is the common thing between them. Here, the numbers were the common thing between them. And what fusion tables makes possible through that, and again, this is something that's easy to do if you have access, easy to do if you know SQL. But fusion tables makes it really easy to do these sort of joins, these sort of merges, without necessarily having that deep understanding of it, other than I know this is the same as this, they belong together. So one thing I kind of ready, we'll see how lucky I am on this, making this go straight through, is a couple of fusion table examples here. So I'll first give an example of kind of the very general geocoding tools that fusion table gives you. So here I went and pulled this from the, I think it's the Open Transparency site for the Texas Comptroller. It's a fabulous site. Some of the stuff could be more up to date than it is, but there's a lot of really nice data sets, a lot of things that we've done stories on that we just kind of go poke through there and see what they have. And one of them here is that each month, I don't have the month on this, I think it's the most recent one, they put out a new list of all the active cigarette tobacco retailers in the state of Texas. So this one's pretty simple, I pulled it down, and let's see. Even though you see it right there, I'll do it again anyways. So Google Fusion Tables, once you, I'll just go straight to it. And we'll probably battle the internet a little bit down here too, but so Google Fusion Tables lets you pull in data sets from, you can either upload them straight from your computer, you can actually interact with Google Spreadsheets, the built-in ones in Google Docs, or if you wanted to torture yourself, you could create a very empty table and put them in one by one. There it goes.
Could you blow it up just a little bit?
Sure.
Excellent.
Yeah, so yeah, it'll obviously look really funky for that, but we'll manage. I would love to say that going to this URL will be the guaranteed way that you'll be able to get to the Fusion Tables interface. Google is actually doing some changes with Fusion Tables to try to merge them into Google Docs, which I think is going to be a great thing, but it's still in that in-between stage where if you have, for example, a Google Apps account, Fusion Tables doesn't show up in Google Docs yet, so we all kind of had an uproar on that, and they reinstated the original interface, which is still loading here. But in Google Docs, which I guess we're going to be struggling with the internet here too, but let's make it open. But back to what I was talking about. So wow, the internet's completely went out on me. But that's a good thing that I have prepared backup ones. Here's the Fusion Tables interface that I was trying to load a while ago. So here's just kind of the basic view of them. I have all these fun. You get to getting a sneak peek into all of the things that we have at the Tribune. But simple as doing an import table, which will take you to that interface that I have demolished over here. But the lack of internet is really making this difficult now. Oh well, then I will move on to the next thing that I was going to do, that I've not unloaded here. So if you saw before I had took it away, that there was all those points that were on the map. It's very as simple as as putting in those, once I uploaded that file, which was this guy here, I went in and essentially told, it automatically recognized that this field right here, as you can see here, was an address. And then it was simple as going to the map and saying, it automatically starts geocoding on that and loading the points in. So, I mean, this works not just for addresses, it works for cities. It would just be a city at the middle of the map, city at the middle of the city, determined however Google has it. Works for zip codes, works for counties to a certain extent. You do definitely run into the situation of county names that conflict with other states, but for basic geodata like this, and also lat longs, of course, Google Fusion Tables automatically picks it up. It understands what you're trying to do there. There are a few cases where you may have to kind of give it a heads up, or tell it which one you want, especially if you have multiple ones, multiple geo recognizable columns. But for the most part, it picks up on which one you're going for there. In reference to the little example we did there, one data set that I've been working on is looking at with the recent the third quarter that was recently closed for presidential candidates, the money that was donated from people in Texas to the presidential candidates. And as far the most detail that you can get with that is zip code. That's as far as the FCC provides. So what I'm wanting to do was to look at, to break it down by zip code and to be able to visualize that on a map and see, where are the hot spots for any particular candidate. And here I have Ron Paul's. I have the amount of people who gave to him from that zip code and the actual amount of money he got from that zip code. And there's probably, a little over 1,000. And while I could put this in there, I could throw this into Fusion Tables, and it actually probably would do just fine. I have cities here as well. I have zip codes here, but as far here is it's going to give you points. And it's not even guaranteed that it's going to be that cool, always going to get the right one. There's a ton of Houstons, obviously, so there's going to be just a bunch of dots sitting on top of each other. So that's really not what I was wanting to for the end of the presentation, that was not what I wanted to have. So here, loaded in Fusion Tables, just to get it in there. It's just identical to that spreadsheet I just had done the upload. I was going to walk through this, but now that I know the internet's not going to cooperate with that, I'll just use my backup plan here. So the next thing that I had available, and this is, I believe, I pulled this from the U.S. Census, actually. The Census website, it's called Tigerline. It's there. They maintain all of these shape files, all of these data sets that correspond with the shapes of counties, the shapes of here zip codes, the shapes of states, so even as far big as that. It goes all the way down to census tracts, actually. And these are freely available. No request needs to be made of them. They make them available for anyone to use. So I pulled down the zip code one and used a tool called Shape Escape, which is SHP Escape, all one word. And all it does is it authenticates on your Google account and pushes it in Fusion Tables for you. Yes?
I did find a plugin for ArcGIS to create KML files that would load directly into Google.
You see, pull it right in. All right.
And the trouble, I'll show it to you, but the trouble was that to get all the other fields in there, figure out how to do it, but it's not bad. So, on the few occasions where I've had Shape Escape backed up on deadline, there's a way to get it directly out of ArcGIS.
Yeah, and that's one thing about Shape Escape. It's a wonderful tool, wonderful thing. Sometimes it takes its time. So yeah, again, if you're on deadline, sometimes it will. But yeah, definitely, and we'll if you mind sharing that, and I'll definitely share it, after the presentation as well. If you've person that has ArcGIS, and I do know, although I've not done it with QGIS, I know that it's available there as well. They have an exporter tool that will export to KML, and it might actually be built into it versus a plugin in ArcGIS.
So is there any kind of like forum or wiki or something like that? As you're saying, you guys are the practitioners. Is there any kind of common watering holes out there that we could come in and learn from? And
for me, it's been the NICAR listserv. The NICAR. I do not remember all of what NICAR stands for. It's from the International Reporters and Editors, IRE. And it's just a mailing list server that they maintain for journalists. Anyone who wants to sign in and jump on the mailing list, and you'll start getting the emails pretty much immediately. There's a good number of them every day.
What's the spelling of that?
Of what?
The spelling.
NICAR, N-I-C-A-R.
Yeah,
Oh,
NICAR.
okay.
And I believe NICAR-L is like the main one that a lot of us, that one, NICAR-L, and the NICAR census one are the two main data, I guess, are doing the kind of stuff that we're doing.
Do you know if they archive those?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
Yeah, it's on the NICAR website.
So you don't actually have to get
Yeah,
on
so if you
the-
don't want to,
you
if you
go
don't
on
want to
the
be
system.
handing out your email or jump
Yeah.
on there to that extent, yeah, the archives are maintained online.
Okay.
But that, I mean, and a lot of tool, I mean, it's interesting how it's just now really getting to the point where a lot of examples, I can't remember his name right now, but there's one guy that's been doing a lot of, like building tools out, doing very, very basic, but things that you'd want to do, like filtering things on a map or searching for items on a map. And he's been uploading them to GitHub. Again, that's something I'll gladly share once we're done here, but a lot of it has been just kind of it's as it's growing, you know, there's more and more tutorials showing up online in support of Fusion Tables. I know the Fusion Tables teams themselves have been putting a lot of work in making. I mean, I guess for there, if you want just basic tutorials, they like go into the tutorial page, like you go through the help for Fusion Tables, is a great place to start. And they have a lot of just very basic examples of, and these are the JavaScript code examples. These can also be, we'll see how well this goes, embedded as iframes, which for a lot of cases, that's what a lot of people will do for the very, you know, the basic things. But there's a, you know, Google Maps API, which is what, you know, the JavaScript API has Fusion Tables built into it, and has the hooks that you need to pull it in. To use, all you need is this ID right here to reference your Fusion Table. And that, I mean, for the more interactive things, that's what you're gonna, you know, what you're gonna need to do. But like I said, on the Fusion Tables through there, again, I won't try it because I just expect it not to succeed. But on their on the Fusion Table website, there's tutorials to do all of those sort of things, and they're getting more and more advanced. Kind of, and a couple of them that have been inspired by some of us doing some crazy things, pushing boundaries on it, that they're pulling in as well. So I think that's probably the best central location for now, and the NICAR list. Definitely, there's a lot of us there that kind of help each other out as questions arise. So it's a good thing, or to check the archive to follow. So so here what else, again, this won't probably load there, but I pulled in the shapefile for the zip code. So here, it's just came out. That's all it is. That represents all the points in that polygon for that zip code. It's a huge amount of data. I highly recommend that you never try to open one of these in Excel, or it will cry and quit on you, and it'll probably force close. So, however, Google Docs is actually able to open them and do okay with them. So, as you see, if you've ever interacted with geodata at all, that's all it is, just a series of points. Series of points that it's told connect these dots, essentially. But the key thing that we're wanting here, and the big thing, and referring back to this, is this number right here, which is the actual zip code for all of those zip code geometries, which we happen to have also right here. So to get to, which is, I believe, this guy right here, yeah, I'm glad I looked at the map already, is this wonderful tool here called Merge. So grab its ID. So what Fusion Tables enables you to do is to do exactly what the result of this was, which is you essentially can tell it, well, again, internet's going to be pain of our existence there, but you get to tell it what are the two things you want to join on. Here obviously would be zip. If this guy comes in, I'll be able to select zip here as well. And what it essentially will do is it'll take everything that's in this table, put them into one table. Again, access is something you can do this as well. You can do this scripting, you can do this with SQL. It's not big, you know, for someone who's done this, you know, it's been very easily deeper than I've ever been. It's not a big deal. But for journalists or anyone that's not as, it's not even going to succeed in pulling it in, someone that's new to this or someone that's wanting to turn something very quickly, this tool can be a godsend in getting that done. I know Christian can speak to this too. There's plenty of things that we've made very, very quickly thanks to this being possible, because we didn't have to worry about having the right environment. We didn't have to worry about if we were surprised by suddenly something that we needed up in the next 20 minutes. A lot of this zip code file I pulled in because I knew I needed to use it, but I'm sure we both building up a collection of shapes and things to merge on is easy to do. Loading them in to have them ready at any point whenever you need to pull them in. So I will not switch away from this, but this was the final result of doing that merge. It takes take maybe a minute or two for it to pull them both in, and probably won't let me click on them at all. But confirm that the data is all there. The blank ones are ones that didn't have any match. Kind of, if you've ever done any merge before, it's the same kind of concept. This was the first one. This was the first join. I guess there's left-right join. There's some language there that I should know but don't. But that will be the basis for what gets included over here. So nothing to match on for any of the zip codes that weren't present in this sheet. So it just did include them. And this here, if internet was working, this URL could be taken, copy pasted, loaded to a CMS, loaded to HTML, anywhere you needed to put it. This map would be available. If you wanted to do a little customization, of course it's not going to click there and work there either. You're able to customize, if you've ever interacted with Google Maps, you know how they pop up when you click on markers or anything that's available there. The same thing is available with Fusion Tables. And it includes hooks into all the data that's present. And you can build those on your own. You can customize them as far as you want in HTML. They have a couple of pre-built ones that are included with Fusion Tables. If you want them not to be read, if you want them to be color-coded based on numbers or amounts, if you to obviously show a showing of these are the ones that had the least amount, these are the ones that had the most money given. You can do that as well. I have a couple other things that are loaded back here that'll be a good example of that, just because this is not going to cooperate with us here. And that was that. I've obviously have done this a number of times, but I pulled both these data sets in, had them ready probably 10, 15 minutes. Oh, there it goes. Now it works. This is the info window example. So it's a very straightforward thing here. You can toggle them on and off. It recognizes this is kind of the reference to the data that's in the table. So Fusion Tables already understands or knows which one you're clicking on. It knows that's the one that you're after. If you click on 78701, it's going to know that's the pull the data that is referenced in that row. I guess are there any questions about that so far? I apologize that the internet has been uncooperative on that, but.
Yeah. So, Shape Escape, you downloaded that from where?
So it's a web service.
Okay, so that's a web service
Yeah.
that they put out based on whatever they're doing. They're putting out their geolocations and creating
So
the shapes of the
ShapeScape,
counties.
what ShapeScape does is it is a way for you to upload shape files, which are the common files that are used in ArcGIS. I guess that's the word. I'm not going to start there, but and it contains all the references to where the polygons are, any data that's associated with them. You are actually entirely able. You don't have to download these. You actually can make them on your own in ArcGIS and have them have the data already included if you did the merge there, and upload them that way. But what you essentially do is you upload this file. It's the zip file with the four elements of I guess an ArcGIS file. And I think it's actually one of the developers with Fusion Tables. It takes that, processes it. You let it hook into your Google account. So once it's done processing it, it creates a new table for you and uploads the data for you.
Okay.
It's really a conversion from the ArcGIS format to the Google
Fusion Tables, yeah.
Fusion Tables format, which is Google Earth.
Yeah, I know the source of it's available like on Google Code, and it's a good chance that it pretty much just converts it into KML
Awesome.
that Google Maps understands. Yeah.
So then you talked about JavaScript animations or visualizations on top of that. Like what? Give an example of a project that you use for, you know, JavaScript visualization of the information on top of that.
That's what's next.
Okay.
Just going to walk through a couple of them here that we have. But so this one here was one that using the summary file one, which is the latest, the more detailed file that was put out by the U.S. Census. And it gives breakdowns of household numbers, the number of married couples, unmarried couples, number of children, you know, the age rankings for all of them. And one that I just kind of was poking around that thought was kind of interesting was the number of households by race and ethnicity. So this is a Fusion Tables map. This is using Google Maps and loading it into projecting it onto a Google Map with the Google Map API, JavaScript API, and went full customization on, like, as if it'll actually pull up that window here, but actually it won't because I did that. This is a very, I guess I'll say it's advanced on that. If the internet was working, it would be, you click over here, loads data over here. The one good thing about Fusion Tables is if you have SQL experience, there are ways to use it. That's all that's downloaded right here. That's actually all that I did here is I essentially queried the Fusion table using JavaScript and SQL and had the data get returned, and I just populated this part over here with it.
So it's JavaScript SQL, not JSON, like JavaScript object.
Right now, it's actually returning as CSV.
Okay.
In the trusted user API, what they're kind of testing, the new one, JSON's coming.
Okay.
So yeah, it's been a struggle to have to parse through CSV every time, but improvements on that are coming.
In the JavaScript that you use to pull this data from Google, the APIs and all that, was that a toolkit that you borrowed from, or that you developed, or how did that skill set come about?
To pull the data?
Mm-hmm.
Really figuring that out was a combination of one, there was an example on Fusion Tables, this tutorial, it was a very basic, just kind of like how to set up an event listener for Google Map. And essentially what that is that every time, if you have any kind of knowledge of how JavaScript and stuff like that works, particularly for Google Maps, is that each time you click on it, you're firing different aspects of Google Maps API. And clicking on one of these polygons fires a reference back that says this is what was clicked on. And with what they've added in the Fusion Tables, in Google Maps API regarding Fusion Tables, is you can actually grab that. You can actually grab that reference and then use that to interact with Fusion Tables. So this here, I believe for counties, we use a lot of times as FIPS, which is the Federal Identification Number.
Can you influence things like the opacity of the results? For instance, if I wanted to do analysis of the population to geographic,
yes, you can.
like
You can customize the colors, the opacity, is any way you want to. But what I was saying was, like, whenever you click on one, I don't know. We'll see if it actually Brewster County. So using the ID for Brewster County, which in this case was going to be the FIPS, which is the federal number that I identify them with. I can grab, it'll return that number to me, and then I can then use that to interact with Fusion Tables and say, okay, well, go grab the row with this ID, and then it'll just hand me all that data back. I'm definitely simplifying that statement. It's not just that obviously that clean of a process, but in general, that's what you're doing there. Is you're saying, go grab this row, give me the data back, and let me interact with it. If there's any other question.
that's enough. I mean,
We're gonna hold you to that. It's that simple.
It's that simple. That's important. You just click on it and it happens.
hey, it's like math.
Let's see, we got. So I'll go through the collection here. This is not a Fusion Table related thing, but is our government employee salary database. If any of you have had the pleasure of looking through it, some of you may work at the University of Texas, and you may be in here. And I guess to answer the question that we usually get is, why do you do this? We, yeah, it's the number one question.
Because it's there.
Yeah, I mean it's public knowledge. It's people who are being funded through tax code dollars, and we don't mean it in a malicious sense. We don't mean it in a we're getting you back for being a public employee.
Who's objected so far? What types? What groups?
Really, I mean it's not necessarily. It's a lot of individuals. I mean we get this the ones that you kind of expect. Privacy. My privacy is being invaded. And we've had people that may have made very good arguments about, I mean, obviously some of them are, I don't work there anymore. This data is not something that is always, up to date in the sense of, updated every week. We actually have to go to each of these agencies, and we stress that this is a collection of data that is updated on a regular basis, but not regular in the sense of a week. It's a snapshot of that point in time for that agency. But
I guess that's something I've been thinking about. Running through all this, I mean, you're taking data sets, and there's that apples to oranges in some elements, and particularly in terms of time frame.
yeah,
I mean, here's this data set on some demographics, and I'm going to merge with this set on income levels or something. And they're 6 months or a year plus, not. They don't share the same time window. Yeah. So there's that complication, but also it's just. I mean, a big grab of mine, I mean, go in to do a Google search and you can sort of like filter it with by last month or last year or something like that. But it's the freshness date of what I'm looking at. When was it last touched and updated? And when I think the next step would be even better is like when to consider that this is now bad and should throw it away.
yeah.
It's spoiled. It's a problem we have with what our content that's out there in terms of credibility, I think.
And one thing that I agree with you there. I mean, and one thing that we've debating now and discussing is how to go forward with this in terms of addressing that sort of issue. In terms of, obviously some of these agencies update their salary stuff at different times.
Right.
For some of them they do it on fiscal year. Some of them don't. Some of them do it based on. For some of the universities, some of them do it based on semester. Each semester is updated. One thing that we're wanting to do is add historical context to this as well. Right now, we kind of just update it as we get new stuff, and the other stuff kind of just disappears. That's data that we do still have, but definitely should be there to provide that context. We entirely acknowledge that there are definitely ways, to improve this that we're going to go forward with doing.
I mean, this is, I think, certainly would be a standard. I mean, because
Yeah.
the Tribune is literally in that cutting edge of becoming a cited source.
Yeah.
I mean, I have this experience in my process work and everything like that, where management's citing numbers that are like 5 years old and saying,
Yeah.
you don't get to base a decision on that. That's not a pertinent number anymore.
Yeah.
What's the number we have? It's like, well, so what?
So it's the change of this 5 years old. Did you have a question?
Yes, on these, this data set you say how often it's updated. What about the older information? If you want to look for a trend on, say, a certain position.
Yeah, so that was what I was referring to. That's our next step thing. Is that like I said, we still have it. It's just not being what's presented and.
But you have to build that up yourself. It's not maintained by the agencies.
Yeah, see, that's the thing that we're kind of addressing now. Is some of them do, some of them don't.
So there's-
Some of them will let you get historical data. Some of them have policies against it.
Brings up the other aspect about persistence in the information you have, and using that in your maps.
Yeah, and fortunately, some of them, a lot of these we have the previous year because we've already gone through the process of updating them. But that's something that we're working on addressing now in terms of what, how far back can we go? If we want to give that the best context, can we go back 10 years? Can we ask them? Can we have 10 years of your salary data? And we're just now kind of going through the discussion of that. We've not hit a wall yet, but there's a lot of agencies in the state of Texas, so there's a lot of potential walls.
Well, what it boils down to is the records retention schedule is controlled with the Local Government Records Act.
Yeah.
The State Library and Archives Commission controls retention schedules that are applicable throughout the state. And then individual agencies can ask for a retention schedule that's in excess of the minimum set by the State Library Commission. But it's an ongoing problem, that older data will disappear if you have a good records retention system within an agency, because their theory is that we get bogged down if we have too much data. So we want to get rid of it as soon as the retention schedule says it's no longer has to be kept. So it's up to us sometimes, I think, to keep the data. I'm running into this right now in the city of Boston. You can get contribution and expenditure reports for office holders only back to 2008 if you want, but we have people on council who've been on there since 2005. So if you want the older data, tough luck. I just got that decision today out of the city. It's just not available.
Did they destroy it?
Because they, the retention schedule says it's no longer needs to be kept, so it's out the door.
So we need to upgrade the retention schedule.
I mean, that's another kind of thing too, that, as we all work more toward being people who maintain these data sets, that's a, opportunity that we have to kind of counteract that. I mean, there's, like I said, the retention schedules, some of these things are getting wiped out on Armino every day. And it was requestable yesterday, and now it is no longer requestable. And making sure that this stuff is still available and still is available to give that context, I think it's going to be more and more important, especially as I don't believe in that there will be malicious intent here, but I mean, more becomes aware that reporters are going to ask for these things. I mean, it might be a return to updating these retention schedules,
Well, the Tribune and the Austin Bulldog is an organization, we're young organizations.
Yeah.
And, but we can, as an ongoing service, maybe we can capture what's available today, and when it's no longer available from your government agency you're trying to get it from, then maybe we have it.
Yeah.
Which just adds value to our data.
Wow, this is scary. How do you validate who's got an accurate set?
Yeah.
Multiple sets.
When the original is gone.
Yeah, when the original's got, how do you put a marker on something that says this is the legit?
This,
Yeah.
like you said earlier, it's a snapshot.
Was there another one? Sorry.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Just touch on a couple more ones here. So, once our governor here in Texas was kind of building up to his presidential run, we all kind of, it had been reported in multiple outlets that it was kind of, we were noticing that he was traveling the country a little bit more in the build-up. And, we wanted to take that and, keep track of it. This is something that we had actually done in the past. We'd done it with the Bill White, Rick Perry gubernatorial kind of lead up to that election. Had tracked where they were both going in the state of Texas, and we kind of wanted to blow it up into a nationwide view for Rick Perry. So what we started doing here, and this is actually a Fusion Tables built interactive, is that I and Tontan, which is our multimedia reporter, decided that we were just going to keep track of, we're going to keep up with the press releases, keep up with the emails, and find out and update this as we found out more. So we share access to a Google Doc that we both update. We have a system set up for. We have each add a new row for each appearance, and on a pretty regular, every couple of days I go and push the update to Fusion Tables. Essentially, when I say push the update, I mean I wipe out the table and I upload the data again. It sounds like it'd be a difficult thing to do, but actually it's pretty trivial. Just a couple clicks, pull it back in from Google Docs, and it was something that we kind of had built up. We had talked about it at a Monday meeting, and we had it up on Wednesday. I mean, it was a kind of a testament to how easy it is to pull something like that together with Fusion Tables. I've added a couple flourishes that kind of filter, although the filters won't work because the internet's not working. That will filter what's available, shown on the map based on some different criteria. Particularly interesting ones, I think, are the pre-announcement, post-announcement differences. But
yeah, timeline would be great on that.
yeah, that's one of the things that I'm trying to figure out the best way to go about doing. But but the good thing about it is that we have that data set that we're maintaining, and is available to anyone that wants to use it. It's one thing that we strive to keep going at the Tribune is that all the data sets that we use, we're not going to hold hostage. The salary database, that all 660,000 entries in the database, to go to the bottom is downloadable. You can grab the data set that we maintain, that we use to build that very app. I'm sorry, go ahead.
You said that every time you add new, wipe out the previous data and reload everything again. Do you do any version control of the data?
Yeah, we use the Google revisions to maintain it, and I pull them out each time.
Okay.
Yeah, I had to address that today actually, because it was like, how many have we done since August? And I was like, oh, well, good thing I've been saving those.
On that interactive, you have the chart underneath it. It should list it. What are you using to list that?
That is using the Google Fusion, the data visualization API from Google. And that is something that also has Fusion table hooks into it. And it's, all you're doing is doing an SQL query on that Fusion table. You just, the same way you run an SQL query, you do for that. And you reference the columns. I mean, obviously it was based on SQL when they were designing it, and as far as I've came, it's not really all that different. There's a couple things you can't do ORs or anything like that. There's a couple things I need to catch up on, but for that case, I'd have to really filter it any, so I just pretty much say, pull me everything out of there, and then I walk through it in JavaScript to build an HTML table with it, and then just pull it and push it out. Again, I'm saying that like it's the easiest thing in the world, but again, it's kind of those things that if you've done that, it's not end of the world to make happen.
To belabor that point, I mean, tutorials on how you are through that. How did you?
They actually,
how did you do
Fusion
that?
Tables actually has a tutorial on their thing for that.
Fusion
as well.
Tables has a tutorial on visualizing table data.
Yeah, pulling data out of the table. Their example, we use table sorter. It's a JavaScript library. It's been around for a little while. Their example uses the Google Charts data tables. Both are perfectly functional. I believe that is under the Fusion Tables tutorial page. If it's not there, it's under the data visualization. If you just search data visualization API, you'll hit it from Google.
Question.
Yes, go
Is it
ahead.
possible, back to the states map you have there, I see a lot of maps, will take information and use it as scaling factor for the area that's being represented, where it can be magnified or reduced in size to convey its relationship to its neighbors. Do you know if Google Maps has that capacity?
As in changing the size, like for this example, like changing the size of the states, I guess
Right.
would be for that. If you had, I think that the basic answer is probably not really. In this case, these polygons are set in stone, and I guess not really set, but like kind of, they're determined based on their points that they're given.
There's a visualization for hot spots that
Yeah.
you kind of take
Kind of
data and show that in a different way.
Yeah, just whatever transformations I can do.
Yeah, hotspot. Yeah, I mean, hotspot's probably the best solution to that. But to alter the shapes of the polygons, I don't think that there's anything really, at least built into Fusion Tables, do it. I wouldn't be surprised if you could figure out a way, but it would be a lot of kind of rolling around in there.
Yeah, well, definitely.
Or something you can work with, work on putting out.
It's Tuesday, you can have it for us by Monday.
So yeah, this is again kind of the same, kind of related to the previous one with the other crime statistics, but again, FBI put out crime statistics for every state based on what kind of crime they were, what kind of crimes were committed, and of course, internet again will hinder us here, but something I pulled together, kind of just, I think it took about a day to pull it together, and went through the same process. So I had this the state shapefile. I had the data that was, I think the thing I used here with the short was the postal code. Was there the little TX and LA and stuff like that, and just merged them two on that, and then styled it based on, found some natural breaks and styled it based on that. And this here again used the Fusion Tables data visualization API thing to pull them in and just push to a table. This one's an entirely different thing that we doesn't involve Fusion Tables again here. As Rick Perry's build up was going through, let's see, was it September? Yeah. So he'd already had announced, and of course everyone was kind of, the national press was going through, who is Rick Perry? What has his history been here instead of Texas? And all of us that had been here in Texas for a while, he's been here for a good 10 years as governor, and we've, all of the local papers, all of us that have been covering him here in Texas knew, had really covered the things that a lot of the national press were coming to find out. And one of them that was a big discussion was on the number of executions that have happened since Rick Perry's been governor. And our kind of criminal justice reporter, Brandy Grissom, was working on a story that was kind of featuring a couple of notable, I think she picked four notable executions, the controversial ones. And she had called me over and had the TDCJ website, which lists these in just a HTML table with some, like, you click here, look at the last words, and said, is there anything we can do to make this more than just this table of these names? And kind of final product here is that we ended up going through and scraping the entire table, pulled all the last words for every person. We use a tool called Scraper Wiki.
What is it called?
Scraper Wiki. It's all one word. They're based in the UK. They're one of the Knight Grant recipients, and it's a wonderful tool. It's an online, it's a web interface to essentially write Python or I think they have Python.
They have PHP, Ruby.
PHP,
they have all the
Ruby,
different ones.
yeah.
We're actually working to bring them here to do some sort of a workshop, hopefully early next year.
Yeah. But it was kind of just on a whim. We were like, oh, we should give this a shot. I was working with one of our tech team, and we started it. I think it was one of those kind of like Monday we need this by Friday kind of things, and we ran into the issue of a lot of probably about a little over half of the people that were in that table had a page you could go to visit for their offender information. So like their date, what they did, the summary of what they did, which is right here. And about half of those were PDFs. And they were not just PDFs, but scanned images of reports that were written up by the TCJ. So that was obviously going to be a big thing for us to deal with. So we used Mechanical Turk. I went through and scraped downloaded all the PDFs, and we put, we had each one of them, we went and made a form for every field that was in each of the information sheets, and I think we did triple. We had each one done 3 times just for kind of quality control. If anyone was, lazy and did like half of them, we needed to throw that one out. And I think we charged we gave maybe 10 cents a transcription. We expected to have it done maybe Thursday night. We did this on Tuesday, hoping maybe Thursday night we'd have it done so we could turn it by Friday, because we needed it for, we needed it for a Sunday piece. And it was done that night.
It's pretty
very,
cool.
very quick there.
Mechanical Turk is amazing.
Yeah. And we went through, we were able to, it wasn't me that wrote it, but we were able to go through and kind of quality check them, check them for length, make sure they all had the fields included, do a couple spot fixes. And this one here, we actually don't have a database behind. It's actually all JavaScript. It's just all hanging out there as JSON behind it, because we were kind of crunched by the time we got to that point. But it ended up working fine, and we this was for that month, which I guess was September. This was one of our top. There was a couple days it rivaled the Seller database, and it passed it. It was one of our top ones. We got a couple of well-placed links linking back to us that we're just kind of sharing this. I guess the thing here was that it was just using a couple, these tools that, like Scraper Wiki and Mechanical Turk, that some of this, in the past we may have we have picked some very, very poor interns, very unfortunate interns to be the guys, to be the people that had to go through and type these things out. We didn't want to do that to anyone. We don't do it.
So, just curious, what was your backup plan if you wouldn't have gotten the output from mechanical turn?
Probably the intern. If we would have done that, I would have been right there with him.
He's collecting names for history too.
I do, and I know what you're, and I do know what you're fearing for me.
Do you capture metrics on the clicks on this page, like the individual clicks on the page?
No.
So just the page.
Chris can answer that part. Maybe we don't do that right.
We have a lot of that data, but we just don't bother to do anything about it.
Could you have other information like which ones area issued maybe a temporary stay on?
Yeah, that's something that we could definitely iterate on it and add, extra context with. I mean the.
Efficiency.
I know that. I mean that actually one of the very last things we added was the little red highlighting of who you clicked on, because we suddenly realized you had no idea. Who you could see what you updated over here, but you couldn't remember who you clicked on. Essentially, another thing that we wanted to make sure to do was changing of the URL based on who you clicked, so you could easily link back to a specific person if you wanted to look at them. But yeah, I mean, yeah, that's definitely we're a very small team, so coming back to some of these things can be a challenge. But categorizing them based on different, how they went, the process of how they got to that point where they ended up, getting the execution, was something that we wanted to add, and hopefully we'll get to come back to.
And you could even add even more layers of information, like each of those X's, you could have one color for women and one color for men, so at a quick glance you can see.
Yeah, definitely. We're doing on time here. I mean, I got a couple more.
You need one now for the relationship between the meds he's on and the number of hits he gets on YouTube videos.
You have time.
All right. So this one here, this is probably the most complicated fusion table thing that we've done. This was a viewer. I mean, I'll try to see if it'll load. We'll see how lucky we'll be here. But with the changes that were being done to, obviously the census came out in 2010. Then when that happens, that necessitates a change to drawing the lines. So, as they were iterating through these, as each day or each couple of days, they'd have a new plan, and they would have a new drawing of how they're doing the districts. It'd always be, a lot of times it'd be just a little shift here and there, particularly in these more dense areas. And we got to the point where we were like, well, we'd seen a couple of the just general image sliders you may have seen. I think the New York Times was one of the probably the, I guess, recently popular for doing that, where you have one image, which would be, in this case, be the old map, and the new image, the new map, and you can drag it back and forth, see the changes there. But I wanted to, I had been loosely playing with the idea of having two Google Maps interacting with each other, and figured in, and this kind of came up, and Ross Ramsey, who one of the editors here at the Text Tribune, that's been kind of his thing, was covering the redistricting, and he had all these data sets that he was getting from the Ledge Council on the breakdowns of the populations and the number of people who could vote in each district. And this kind of on off chance, he was like, oh, by the way, they put shapefiles up too. I was like, oh, well, they do. So we went and pulled the original plan. It was Plan 100, which is the original plan, and I went and grabbed the last one at the end of the session, and in the same general idea concept that was used for, of course it's going to do that, for the image drag and drop, I want to do with Google Maps and use the fusion tables. So let's see if this will cooperate with us here a little better, but just want one of them to load. But essentially what it would do is that, based on, this is using the same kind of concept that I mentioned earlier with being able to interact with the Google Map with the click listeners. So districts, other than the ones that were new, which I identified just by explicitly saying this is a new one, there will not be a match on the old plan. you click on one, it grabs the district number, and it talks to the other map, talks to the other fusion table, and says, hey, this is the one that's been clicked, load this one as well. And that's essentially what it was. And when 53 is clicked on either side, that number gets sent to the other map and says, load this one as well. And then, oh, there's a little bit there. I see. Yeah, looks so great there. But it ended up just using the API to highlight them both in, we use stars, we use Tribune Yellow, and highlighted them both, and you're able to drag them back and forth. You can zoom in, it responds to them, which is fine, and be able to go back and forth and see, the exact change of that district, and look at the numbers of how they change, what the changes that were made there as well. I see, so you can kind of see that was going on there. In a previous iteration that we had that I need to pull up to this one as well, we even had something that you could look for your address and run a search for address, and all it would do was put a marker, Google Maps marker, on both maps. And that way, whenever you were dragging it back and forth, it would show, you could see exactly where you lived or where you were at. Hey, it was in a new district, who was your new person that was representing you? Again, we do what we can with the time we have. Obviously, a lot of wonderful things you can build on with that. Having simply saying, turning into a who represents me now kind of app. Who's responsible for me now. This is something that I'm actually working on documenting in a way that can be handed off and anyone can use. I'll put it up on GitHub once I get to that point. I was actually working on it yesterday. Because I've got a lot of questions asking, like, how'd you get to that point? It's really, using, again, it was all kind of built on the Google Maps API, using the, doing the math of, here, what's the distance from here to the bottom, and then using that calculation to make the change over here to keep them in sync with each other. I don't think I can explain it farther than that. I'll definitely let everyone know when it's available.
It's real simple. But it's real simple.
Yeah, it's real simple. No, the math was, again, like I said, I'm a chemical engineer who changed his mind very quickly. That this was, it haunted me here. But I do, and I will go in here and definitely give a shout out to Travis Weisgood, who works with us and is one of our tech team, who is a big part of, we banged our heads together for a while, battling with the Google Maps API, for battling with the math, and getting this made.
So are the Google folks talking to you regularly? Are they tracking what you're doing and seeing how you're pushing the envelope on some of this stuff?
They've contacted us a couple times. The Fusion table. I'm very vocal about when things don't work, so I usually will send them an email immediately whenever I find that out. But we've
So you're on a short list of like their front users or something?
we've been. I guess I don't know if I wouldn't put it in a way that says we're like some exclusive club.
No.
We've been a kind of, along with the Bay Citizen, WYNC, we've been kind of featured as people who were doing, pushing the envelope with it. The good thing about that is they do keep in contact, ask us, how's this working? What's working, what's not, what do you need, what could do to improve this? It's been rocky. When I first started using Fusion tables, it was about when it was announced. It was right when I started at the Tribune. And there were days where it was rough. There were days where we made something and it was down for the rest of the day, and we wanted to publish it and we couldn't because Fusion tables was not working that day. It's definitely improved immensely on that. I think them pushing it into Google Docs, making it an active part of Google Docs, is a big sign that they're trying to make it. They're wanting this to be something that is a viable part of their, collective of products. So. Again, with some of the changes that are being made in terms of charging for Google Maps API access, the limits that that have just been implemented. I guess it was today actually that they officially went into effect. The loading of Google Maps, using the Google Maps API to load maps, the 25,000 limit per day per map. For us, we've not. I don't think we even come close. I was kind of talking to Christian. I don't know hell the station is doing with that or not either, you know, if that'll affect them or not either, but, I mean, it's one of those things that, I mean, they may be moving into charging, but they're also doing a lot better in supporting it and keeping it up. So, obviously everyone's gonna have their own discussion on whether, you know, the viability there, again, we're not gonna I don't think we're coming close to having an issue yet. But, I mean, I guess to speak as a person who just graduated from UT and just kind of wandered into this, it was a nice tool to have, to be able to learn how to do a lot of this and how to get things done. Yes. I guess the very last one, again, I guess I'll end on a non-future tables thing. So whatever during the session that budget hadn't balanced, that was a goal of the state, and school districts tend to be one of those things that are easy to cut, and are easily can be on the short list of things that can be numbers can be kind of played with and molded with to make things work around. And again, kind of like the redistricting plan, this is something that the numbers are being, you know, these plans were being drawn up every couple days, you know, percentage cuts, what they were going to take from each one. And we were getting those, we were requesting them, they were handing them to us. Morgan Smith, which is our public ed reporter, she was writing, you know, doing updates on it. And she brought them to me and said, is there something we can do? And these were just PDFs. Fortunately, they were made with Excel, you know, we could pull them out, out reasonably well. But we wanted, you know, we wanted to do something that said, look, how can we compare schools beyond just scrolling, you know, paging through a PDF and finding which one, where your school was. So I took the final plan that was made, and we'd made a couple of these as they were going through them, and kind of updating it as they gave it to us. They gave it to us in the morning, we'd have an update for it that afternoon. And I took what was originally planned for fiscal year 2012, the new one, and then just calculated the raw change, the percent change. And we were doing this as they were going, as each new one came. And originally this was just kind of, I mean, it was something we were going to maintain. I wouldn't say it was a one-off, but it was definitely not a high priority thing in a way. It was just kind of like, here's a good data set, we need to get something quick out there. But it turned out that it actually ended up being a much more popular thing than we had. I mean, I honestly actually did not know how popular it was till after the fact. And that as we were constantly updating this was something that for a lot of people in the House and the Senate was their first time learning how much their school district was actually being cut in the plan. And a lot of their, you know, kind of the constituents saying, hey, you know, do you know that our school is losing 12% of its funding? And they'd be like, oh, no, I didn't. I just knew that we were having to cut everyone.
I just voted for it, that's all.
Yeah. So one thing we do at the kind of at the last minute said we wanted to make it where you could filter, you know, make it beyond the just the PDF that you could page through, make it where you could just filter through the list and it would just update it on the fly. Definitely might have been a better way, but again, like I said, this wasn't something that we had a lot of time to devote to, but and ended up being one of the simplest things and one of the most successful things we did during the session. If you may remember that we had the filibuster at the end of the session that led to our special session, and a big part of it was education funding. This wonderful page here was one of the tools used to fill up time during the speaking event, speaking at the end. So I'm proud of that.
You got the whole thing on tape, don't you?
We were there. But I don't want to go through that again.
Show your grandkids.
Here's the thing that was red on the floor tonight.
Here's something I did.
But yeah, so I guess that's the end of little things there. A couple of inspiration that good websites to follow on kind of doing data visualization and stuff like that. I'll gladly share this. These are actually links. We'll do all the good sharing stuff that we do to make this available to everyone. These first three are three data focused websites that I keep up with having my RSS reader. They always are featuring really cool stuff. I have a list that on Twitter that I'm working on of kind of people who tend to tweet out really cool things that they're doing. Highly recommend you check out Chicago Tribune. Their data team's doing excellent things. The New York Times, of course, are always doing great things. WYNC, especially if you're interested in fusion tables. The team over there, actually know that one of them is doing a Hacks Hackers presentation in New York on maps as well.
John Keefe tonight, yeah.
Yeah. So.
Right now, probably.
Yeah, right now. He's at WNC and he does amazing work with fusion tables. Our friends over at the Bay Citizen with their bike tracker and other interactions they do great stuff as well.
That'd be great to Twitter with this.
Yeah. Again, I'll see if I can get it finished either today or tomorrow, and again, on the meetup, I'll gladly share it. Or you can just go find me and just keep up with as I do it. Visual display of quantitative information, the data visualization Bible. I highly recommend it if you have not read it or flip through it. It's a great. You don't have to take everything literally, but it's a great way to kind of get a good overview.
I'll send you the graphic. I came across it the other day. It's a good graphic. Every time somebody shows a PowerPoint, every company shoots a kitten.
I'm glad that I'm being very ironic.
Is it available on audio?
I mean, maybe.
That's funny.
I don't know if there's a Kindle version either, but if you like to look at grayscale charts. But yeah, thank you for coming and listening to me mumble up here for a while. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them. Come up to me, or if you want to shout them out right now.
One of the things that I can see is this being extensible to maybe private industry utilizing some of the public and their own proprietary information to do this analysis. Do you think this supports layers like that, where there's a public layer and then a private layer, but in analyzing information across two different systems? Say, for instance, that you're a credit card company, you're looking for where fraud's occurring, and you have a lot of data points, a lot of aspects that you need to relate it to a geographic area or maybe something temporal. So you would take what's already existing in the public space and then take your information and layer it, overlay it, and then look for patterns to help.
I mean, I have no doubt that they already do that.
Oh,
yeah. I mean,
so far ahead.
yeah. I mean, that's.
Yeah, well, that is an example.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, definitely.
I was gonna say I have a few friends who do, from what I understand, that, and if you have a son or a nephew going into college right now, tell them to look into the GIS program at their school's geography school, because it's like all of my friends who study GIS under the geography department got jobs out of college right away. And I'm fairly certain that's what you're talking about. Yeah.
Or a daughter.
Or daughter.
And and the GIS people are the nicest people in the world.
I mean, yeah.
They share information like nobody's business.
It's like built into it feels like it's built into their culture. I mean, they're the most amazing people that you can. I mean, even if you're not doing journalism, I mean, for us it's great, but I mean they're amazing people. City of Austin has been really good to us. We've
someone at the fire department about emergency service districts, and I was having trouble with data from Travis County, and she's like, "Oh, just send me a spreadsheet. I'll figure it out for you." Just really, really cool people.
I mean, yeah, I think the Ledge Council, like, what was an interesting thing. I mean, even they were out following them a couple times a week, during that round we were working on that. I mean, yes, I don't know what's special. They're very special people, very talented people, and
It's
very
that
nice
program that is so thick
yeah.
and unintuitive.
RJS would do that to you.
Yeah, but it's really, really, really powerful.
You take out all your anger on that, so you can't be mean to anyone.
Maybe some of those people can come and present to us at some point.
Yeah.
Which I will recommend. I mean, give a shot. Give a plug for one of our previous presentations. If you wanted to look at, I mean, one, of course, Christian's one from last month was great. Looking at the Bastrop fire maps that he was doing at the Statesman, and also we had the demographer from the City of Austin come speak, which was amazing. So I know we have the video up from that.
Yeah, most of our, not all, but most of ours, we've got video for, so if you go to that hacksackers.com and look up the Austin tag, you can see the past, I think
We'll
this
look
will be
at
our
Austin
13th, yeah.
Yeah. For someone who can talk, who gets really excited about talking about numbers, Ryan gets really excited about yeah, Ryan Robinson. Yeah. You get
I
excited
get
about
excited
numbers
about
too,
numbers.
but not as animated as he is.
But
Big precedent.
yeah. If you have any other questions, you're welcome to come chat with me. I don't know if we have any pizza left, but please dispose of
There's
it.
probably some beer
What else
left.
gonna do with the
We ate
numbers
it.
there?
Huh?
Anything else gonna happen with those pieces of paper?
Oh, I'm gonna make a map of it. And they will be disposed of.
Shredded.
Sure, we're about.
Okay, thanks a lot for
Yeah.